Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And as you notice, I'm speaking English. That makes me a racist. No, honestly, I know this because I've been told it by a university. Speaking English in England makes you a racist. Wonderful, isn't it? The fact that English isn't actually English at all, it's a mixture of German, French, Latin, Greek, Indian, Dutch, Norse, Swedish, well, you name it. English isn't a line of a language. English is a great river with many, many tributaries. And yet it's deemed to be racist. What a load of old rubbish. Let's have a look at this article and let's see who's claiming it's racist. So the Woke Open University anti-racist training course titled Union Black tells academics that white superiority is embedded in the English language. The Open University anti-racism course says English upholds white superiority. Course material claims that white hegemony is weaved into people's minds. The programme was launched last year through a £500,000 Santander investment. It was devised by academics and Labour frontbencher David Lammy. But of course it was Labour and David Lammy. David Lammy himself is noticeably racist. A woke anti-racism Open University training course, which is a racist Open University training course, devised by professors as well as Labour frontbencher David Lammy, not the brightest button in the house, so why he's being invited to devise this racist piece of trash, I don't know. It says that the English language upholds white superiority. The programme entitled Union Black, which was launched last year through a $500,000 investment from Santander, claims the idea of white hegemony as being covertly weaved into people's minds. Course material studied by academics at almost 100 universities, including Imperial College London, says white superiority is ingrained in the cultural psychology of the English language and that white Europeans have most successfully imposed racist ideas. No, they haven't. You've got no proof of that. And if you're thinking there was no racism before white people existed, you're very much mistaken. Another module praises cancel culture. It praises cancel culture, urging participants to share collective expressions of moral outrage. Well, let's cancel these people because I'm morally outraged. And encourage them to become active allies in advancing racial justice. They mean by racial justice, and I've got to put this in a way that is friendly for YouTube. Let us say it's a word beginning with G that rhymes with genocide of the white peoples of the world. The grand replacement theory, that sort of thing. The course's claims about race in the English language have been blasted as characteristically woke, unhistorical, ignorant and illiterate by Dr. Sara Masrani, historian of the British Empire. So you actually have an Asian doctor here, Dr. Sara Masrani, saying that what this man on the right, David Lammy, is saying is complete and utter bollocks, which it is. But he is notorious for being an anti-white racist. Anyway, Dr. Masrani says, this is a sad reflection of woke brainwashing of our future academics. It betrays abysmal ignorance of how any language evolves, assimilating diverse influences along the way. The programme was developed by leading academics, including Professor Marcia Wilson, Dean of Equality, Diversity, Inclusion at the Open University. The very fact you've got a Dean of Equality, Diversity and Inclusion indicates that that university is corrupt, is anti-white racism, is rife. Because that's the only reason you have an inclusion dean, is so that you can be racist against non people of colour, basically. white people. In one module called What is Whiteness, the court states, along with religion, politics, laws and customs, white superiority is embedded in the linguistic and cultural psychology of the English language. What a load of tosh! The Renaissance was Italian. All the bright ideas, all the casting off of ignorance and superstition, the great painters, the architects, the designers, the bridge builders, Giotto, Da Vinci, Michelangelo, none of them spoke English. I believe Da Vinci did, but mainly they spoke Italian. So it's not as though all these things that they are claiming are English. And you've got to remember that English as she is spoken today is probably only 400 years old. If you got in a time machine, how far back do you think you could go and still be understood? I would say if you went back, well, 100 years easily. Right, so it's 1900. Could you be understood? Yes. 1800, more or less, yes. There'd be some phraseology that would be different, but yes, more or less. 1700, you'd get by, but a lot of the words would be pronounced differently. The word spellings would be changed. Meanings would be awkward. So back when this place was built, this is St Paul's Cathedral, King James II of England saw it, and this was the first time he saw it, and he described it as amusing, awful and artificial. And of course Sir Christopher Wren, who designed it, was cock-a-hoop. He was over the moon, joyous, because amusing, awful and artificial didn't mean then what it means now. Amusing basically meant amazing. Awful meant full of awe. And artificial meant made with great artifice, meaning with great skill. So of course, any argument that the language doesn't change is specious at best. But if you went back beyond sort of 1700, went back to say 1600, they're starting to not even speak modern English. It's starting to be that admix of modern and Middle English. You go back another 200 years to the 1400s, it's virtually all Middle English and French. Earlier than that, you're starting to speak Old English, Saxon. It depends where you are. Norse. The language wasn't even the same in the whole country. So to say that this wonderful language that is English has developed into a racist thing is utter poppycock. Also, a language is a function of the people who speak it. You use the words for the things you see around you. Famously, the Eskimos having 23 words for snow. Not actually true, I think, but it's always the joke. But if you live in a forest, you're going to have a lot more words for trees than if you live in a grassland. Because you have to invent words for the things that are around you. So that's why languages are different. Now, European languages tend to fall into mainly three groups. You have the Romance, the Germanics and the Slavics. I know there's a couple of other exceptions, but they're basically the big three. But they all have loan words from each other. Who's to say what is what? I mean, English, for example, it is on prima facie, the lingua franca of the world. And to suggest otherwise would be so jejune and outré. But anyway, getting back to this old pile of rubbish in front of us. They are saying, this is that doctor again, consequently, given the global reach of the English language, the assumption of white hegemony has been covertly weaved into the consciousness of white people, black people and people of colour. It has not. If English was so evil and so bad, why does everyone speak it? It is a universal language. And if people don't want to speak it, that's up to them. I noticed David Lammy, moaning about English, speaks English. But you know what? You can travel all over the world and people speak English. Or variants of it. There's Canadian English, United States English. You go to South America, there's places that speak English. All over the Caribbean, it's English. Australia, New Zealand. I was in Hong Kong and virtually everyone speaks English. You go to Norway, virtually everyone speaks English. You go to Iceland, I think it's almost 100% English speaking. South Africa, English speaking, and obviously I think there's about 12 official languages, but certainly English. English is one of the official languages of India. English is not a white language. English is a world language, and to claim otherwise is just stupid. Anyway, I shall come up now and round off and just sit in disbelief at what they're saying about the English language. Seems to me to be an awful waste of money and an awful waste of time just to spread more racial hatred. And we have to ask why the likes of David Lammy want to do this. Is there not enough division in the world that the likes of him need to create more? Lammy is an odious toad. I dislike him immensely. Dislike everything he says. Anyway, I shall round it there. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, and goodbye.